Everybody, this is Elektra Yao, immigration lawyer and entertainment lawyer here in New York City. As you guys know, we have offices in New York and in New Jersey, but we work with clients everywhere in the world, actually. Thank you so much for joining. And today, I'm live on Facebook and Instagram, and I want to talk about O-1 visa requirements. But before I talk about that, I would just want to invite you guys to follow me on social media for my updates on the law, updates with the firm. I'm going to be speaking at Cardozo Law School soon. I'm also going to be on a panel at a film festival in November to talk about how artists can protect and promote their work. So lots of really exciting things happening. But before we talk into firm updates, I really want you guys to understand the O-1 requirements. So basically, hopefully you know that the O-1 is a pretty special visa, and it's divided into the O-1B category. So for artists, creatives, entertainers, performers, and it's divided into the O-1A category. Today, we're only going to talk about O-1B, but I can definitely do a live on O-1As to kind of give you insight on how the O-1A is used. The O-1A is used commonly for startups, for people working in tech, for people working in business, but I've also done them for scientists and engineers and a whole host of other professions. But today, we're going to talk about O-1B. So what are the requirements for O-1B? So I would say before you start to delve into the requirements or before you watch this video, ask yourself, how do I know that I qualify for the O-1? Like what makes me O-1 worthy? Like how do I know I'm going to get potentially approved for the visa? Now that's a pretty introspective question, and I would say it happens twofold. First, it happens with yourself, where you ask yourself these questions, you interrogate yourself and see like what your achievements are, what you've done, what your friends are doing, what you're currently doing, what you haven't done. And then the next step is really to go meet with an experienced attorney who really, really understands the arts, the nature of the industry that you're working in, and of course, the law. So after you've done all of that and you're tackling on the visa requirements, I personally like to divide the visa requirements or the O-1B visa requirements in two. I call them technical and then merit-based. So the technical requirements are things that don't really deal with your achievements, don't really deal with what you've done in your career, what you haven't done in your career. These are just technical requirements that we need to include in the petition. So the first technical requirement are the immigration forms. So this, I've seen people file cases on their own or file with maybe inexperienced attorneys, mess up the forms a lot of the times. The forms are the technical part of the O-1B petition, meaning that everything that is in the forms is how the officer is going to identify you. So your date of birth, where you're from, your current status, your social security number, all of that sensitive data goes into the immigration forms. So you want to make sure that they are properly filled out. The second technical requirement is the advisory opinion. Now, the advisory opinion, this is a technical letter from either a labor union or a management organization that is a requirement for the petition. So if you are an actor, for example, you would probably go to AGMA or Actors Equity. You would go to, those are the labor unions that govern your profession. There are certain professions where there's no labor union. So for example, for models, there is no labor union for models. There's not a technical body that governs models or fashion designers, for example. So you have to be really, really cognizant of the labor union that governs your profession. So these are the technical requirements. Now we're going to go into the merits of your case. So the merits of your case, I divide them into 4 categories, right? I try to break them down by the criteria. So the first category is your letters of recommendation. Now, everyone thinks that this is the easiest category, but it's actually the most complex because of how they're utilized in the petition. So, for example, letters of recommendation are not synonymous with letters of recommendation that you have in the real world. So these letters, if they're properly drafted by the attorney, they don't really talk about whether you're a nice person or not a nice person or things like that. They really go into depth on the work that you've done, the contributions to the projects that you've participated in, what sort of role you've had. They're very, very, very detailed, and they require a thorough analysis of your achievements. Right? So maybe a real world letter of recommendation would be somewhere around like maybe half a page, 1 page, whereas a letter of recommendation for the O1s are usually 2, sometimes 3 pages, depending on how in depth the signer wants to go into the analysis of your work. Again, the letters of recommendation don't just come from anybody, they really need to come from experts in your field. So, for example, an expert is someone who has a professional career, is somebody who has a track record of success in the field that you're working in and the field that you want to work in during your O1. So, I tend to stay away from professors because academic work and academic achievements are not synonymous with professional achievements. But definitely, if you have a professor that has his or her own career outside of the university, he or she would be a good candidate. So, choosing the signer is just as important as the content of the letters that you of the letters of recommendation. So, the second requirement, sorry, for the O1 is press. So, press is basically um, news articles, interviews, press articles, publications about you and the work that you've been participating in. A lot of the time, sometimes clients will secure press that really focus on their academic achievements, but this is not something that is necessary for the O1. In fact, you don't even need a degree for the O1. This is not something that is important for the O1. Of course, for your training as an artist and as a creative professional, having a degree or certificate in your field is definitely helpful, but for the O1, it is not. So, really, the press article should focus on your achievements, your professional achievements, and your contribution to the projects that you've been working on. The third requirement is your future work. Now, your future work, you need to decide if you want to work on behalf of one employer or multiple employers. Now, this is a very complicated decision, and this answer is usually based on how you see yourself navigating your future career in the next 3 years, and obviously based on the work opportunities that you have. So, the one thing that's very, very special about the O1 is that you don't need to file multiple petitions at the same time. You can file one petition with multiple jobs if you file with an agent petitioner. And I'll do another live video to discuss what an agent petitioner is. But if you file with an agent petitioner, then you have the ability to file with a legal minimum of 2 contracts. And then you can add additional performances and engagements to your O1 validity period if they're within the scope of what you're doing and they don't materially change the underlying petition that was submitted. Now, this is wild. This is great. This means that you can continue to work and continue to have different professional achievements that maybe weren't included in the underlying petition without needing to file a new O1. This is not the same for other visa types or other work visa types. So, this is something to really, really keep in mind when you're seeking out future work. Most people, when they file for the O1, they really try to take advantage of this option, and they do file with an agent petitioner with a legal minimum of 2 jobs. The next requirement is your portfolio, what I like to call your portfolio. So, your portfolio is basically an ensemble of curated documents curated by me, which includes information that I believe is strong to demonstrate your creative process. I do not like to see portfolios that just give me the final product. So, for example, we tend to see a lot of this in like graphic designers and product designers. They'll maybe just give me the final product of their pictures, which is fabulous. It's great, but it's a really minuscule part of the portfolio because I really focus on the process. I really focus on how you got to that end result because the portfolio is not only about showcasing your work, but it's also about demonstrating why you're an expert. I think of it like this. When I was a little girl and I was learning math, instead of just putting the answer right away, so in like, I don't know if you're doing like long division, 6 divided by 2, you get 3. Instead of just putting 3, my teachers really wanted me to put out the whole process. They really wanted me to demonstrate how I got to the final answer. And this is the same approach I take with the portfolios. I really try to show the officer the expertise, the detail, the information, the knowledge that is necessary to arrive at the final product. Because again, it's not only about showcasing the work, but it's also about demonstrating how you're an expert in the field. So this is something that is a little bit difficult to do, but with proper guidance, you can definitely show the process. And I've done this for all different types of professionals. I do it for O-1Bs and I do it for O-1As. My approach is to demonstrate the process of how the work is completed, to really educate the officer on the knowledge and the expertise necessary to arrive at the final product. So for there's two additional criteria, high salary and commercial success. So these are a little bit more difficult to argue for traditional professions. High salary, I usually argue it with maybe models, art directors, creative directors, and commercial success. You can also argue with models because, for example, what I do with models is if you're on the cover of a magazine, that is deemed to be, I argue that that is commercial success. But everything really is very specific to your case and really depends on like the thesis that you want to put forward in your petition. So those are the O1 requirements. I broke it down for you in terms of merit-based requirements, so the evidentiary criteria, and the technical requirements, which include the immigration forms and which include the advisory opinion. So I just want to thank everybody. Thank you, Yogesh, for watching on YouTube. Thank you, everybody who's joined and saw me live on Instagram and on Facebook. Just want to take a moment to thank you for taking time out of your day to watch my live. But yeah, those are the technical requirements for the O1 and the merit-based requirements for the O-1B visa. So tomorrow I will talk about O-1A and how O-1As can be used for entrepreneurs, startup founders, and more. If you have any questions or if you have any requirements or things that you want me to discuss, please feel free to email me or comment live when I'm live so that we can have this discussion so everybody can benefit from this information. So thank you so much. I hope you learned a lot about the O-1B visa requirements today, and we will be back tomorrow at the same time. Thank you, everybody.